All right, we might not have him here yet, so I can go ahead and get this event started. So thank you all so much for joining us. Like I said, we are so thankful to our faith partners for stepping up during the pandemic, from offering testing clinics to vaccination hubs to food distribution shelters and opportunities. We really relied on our faith partners to support our community during this really challenging time. And we wanted to take this as an opportunity to thank you all as a beginning, right? Because I know that through planning this event, the hardest part is figuring out how to thank everyone for the amount of work that you all have done and the ways that you have stepped up during this time. And there's no way to properly thank everyone. And I know that we're going to miss folks in this thank you process. So while we wait for Sultan to get on, give me 1 second. I don't want to call on another person who's not here. So Crystal Townsend has really also been a huge part of this planning effort. So I wanted to offer her the opportunity to introduce herself and say a few words. Crystal has probably worked more with the faith community in this time than I have. She's the president and CEO of the Healthcare Initiative Foundation. So Crystal, are you able to offer a few words?
Thank you, Kate, and thank you all this evening. I just wanted to echo this great appreciation. As a local funder in Montgomery County, we have seen the faith community step up in partnership in ways that we couldn't have even comprehended before the pandemic. And the true heroes that shone through with cultivating volunteerism, donating space, showing up to provide food space, storage capacity, taking on integrating food with testing and vaccines to reach community members, working with emergency assistance, with housing, rental assistance, and just being that trusted community liaison to so many. I just wanted to kind of share one stat that when I was reflecting on today and my remarks is we partnered with the Department of Health and Human Services and the Food Council and the Food Task Force on being the fiscal sponsor for $2.2 million in food assistance very early on. And I just realized today when I was looking over the data that 1/3 of those partners were faith-based organizations. So when we say you stepped up, you were 1/3 of that emergency response and getting over 30,000 pounds of food out into the community. And I just think when you think about how that compounded and those efforts have still gone on and still continued, and many of you have changed your practices and what you're going to be doing in the community forever. And I just wanted to say, just to express such an appreciation for all that work and leadership. And I'm so glad we're taking this opportunity this evening to really reflect after 2 years of the journey that we have come and where we want to go. So thank you. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you, Crystal. And I believe that I saw Sultan Chowdhury hop on. Sultan, are you able to offer us a quick prayer to start this event?
Well, yes, my pleasure to do. Good evening, everyone. Greetings. And we start in the name of God. Peace and blessings on all. O omnipotent God, with whatever name we call you, we thank you for this evening. Gatherings of communities to express our gratitude for our togetherness in humanity in our county. Oh God, these communities met the unprecedented challenge during the pandemic to help feed amongst us who were vulnerable, care for those who were at risk or sick, answer the calls for help in any manner. They are the heroes of our community. Oh God, bless those who helped in this endeavor. Bless those whose sufferings were lessened. Bless those who facilitated the activities of these communities. And bless all in our communities. They all are your creation and one in your eyes. Feeding the needy is our moral, social, and civic responsibility. Coming together as faith communities, we try to answer spiritual religious call. In this spirit, we gather together as family, friends, and community, irrespective of our creed, class, religion, faith, and work together to feed the needy and lessen the sufferings. Our prayers for those who are lost during this period and for those who suffered more than others. And we all thank our heroes in this endeavor and thank God for allowing us to get together on a beautiful day like this to celebrate your God, your bounty to all of us. Amen. May I also take a couple of minutes to introduce ourselves, Montgomery County Muslim Foundation now or later, Kate?
Sultan, I'm going to ask faith leaders to share late after we have our elected officials speak. Okay. So that's a good reminder for me to go over the agenda with you all. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by hearing from our elected officials. We have County Council President Gabe Albernos on the line, and we have County Executive Mark Elrich. Afterwards, we're going to open up. I've asked a few faith leaders to share about their experiences during this time. And we want to hear from others on this call, time permitting. So if you'd like to share your story and your experience, feel free to send me a message and we will be sure to include you in the conversation. But for now, I would like to start off by introducing our County Executive, Mark Elrich, and allowing him to speak to you all and to thank you all for the work you've been doing during this time.
Hi. I'm happy to join you tonight, and I just want to, it's been a hard time getting in and staying in, so hopefully it won't go out again. I'm glad to be here, and I just wanted to thank everybody and let you know how much I appreciated what you've done, particularly over the last 2 years. You've always been an important part of this community. I don't think any of us have been tested the way we were over the last 2 years, and I just want to make sure you know how much I appreciate what we were able to do together. You know, it's been 2 years of fighting COVID this month. And, you know, we're taking some time this month to recognize all the groups that, you know, were part of this 2-year-long battle to try to minimize the impact of COVID. We've recognized the sacrifices and the dedication of individuals and the partners in the community that we had. And this virtual event is, you know, just to thank, you know, our faith partners. Hopefully soon we'll have more in-person events, but for now we're virtual. To just thank you all for what you contributed to this. This is a month of also religious significance. You know, the upcoming religious holidays of this month are Purim if you're Jewish, Holi if you're Hindu, Sikh, or Jain, Nowruz, Baha'i, Zoroastrian, and also some Muslim countries celebrate Nowruz. And then there's also Ramadan. So there are a lot of important holidays coming up this month for the people who are all gathered here today. The faith community played a big role in the work we did over the last 2 years. Without the faith community, we would have been hard pressed to bring the kind of relief and support to our community that we were able to do. In the beginning, you know, we were used to doing things through the county government, and we tended to direct everything from the county government. And we found out early on that first with testing and then with vaccines, that many people in communities either weren't getting tested or weren't getting vaccinated. And we kind of recognized the limits of our own reach, and we made a decision to pivot ourselves from focusing on the government directing everything to giving more power and control to organizations like in the religious community and other community groups. And I think that was important. We learned that, you know, you could bring the message deeper into the community. You have higher levels of trust in many communities than the government has. That's just the reality. It has something to do with where people have come from before they came here, that informs their views of government in some cases. So your support and your help was really, really critical. I don't know if you've heard the statistics on, you know, how much food and everything we gave out, but it's like 41 million pounds of food, over 20 million meals given out largely with the help of the nonprofit community and the religious community. So that is a phenomenal number. And it really helped us make sure that people were fed through this time when people were losing incomes. After 2 years, of combating this pandemic, we lost nearly 2,000 county residents, and we undoubtedly will reach that 2,000 mark. To put it in perspective, in all of the Vietnam War, we lost 130 residents. So that gives you an idea of how deep this was in our community. And every resident lost a spouse, a mother, a brother, a sister, a child, or a friend. We all know people who perished during this. And so for, I think, everybody, the pandemic has a personal weight, because we know there are people who aren't here because of the pandemic. And there would have been a lot more people not here had it not been, for your work and your efforts. This is, I'd like to say this is over now. It'd be great to do a victory speech, but this is not the time for victory speeches. There is yet another Omicron variant out there. It's spreading pretty much like crazy in Europe, and it's present here in Maryland, and it's growing in Maryland, and we're likely to see another spike and then a run up, and then it looks like it's an Omicron variant, so they're expecting a run up and a run down. And it's just critically important that people get vaccinated. If they're not vaccinated, then they get boosted if they're not already boosted. We are at the point where, we've got 85% of our population is fully vaccinated, but under 60% is boosted. So we've got 40% of the population or more who's going to be vulnerable to getting the Omicron variant. And if they're not boosted, they're likely to get sicker, and they increase the likelihood of death. People who are boosted, very unlikely to get seriously ill and very unlikely to die, but not true for everybody. We have to continue to support our residents and make sure that that we let our friends and neighbors know that if they're not vaccinated, they should go ahead and get vaccinated, because it would just be tragic to lose more people. I've been telling people that there's no reason for anybody to die from COVID anymore, other than the rare circumstances of somebody who's been boosted who gets seriously ill, often because of underlying additional conditions. Nobody really needs to die. And we actually control this. And we've got to get it across to our residents that we control this. We don't have to have more heartbreak and more sadness over the loss of people if we can all get it together to do the right thing. And, you've been our partners going through this, and, we're counting on you to continue to get that message out so that people recognize that there's so much that we control, and that if we do this, we can get out of this without, much more damage than's already been done. It's been hard on everybody. I recognize that. I know everybody is looking forward to the point when this is not the disease that it is today, but I think Dr. Fauci said it really well the other day, that when COVID gets to be like the flu, then we'll treat it like the flu, but it's not quite there yet. And so until it becomes like the flu, we need to treat it like the threat that it is. I want to thank you, a really big thanks for everything you did, all the work you did with us, all the work you did in the community, and your kind of steadfast partnership through all of this. And we look forward to working with you going forward. I want you to know that, one of the impacts on us has been that in our budgets, you're going to see that the hubs are kept intact. We're continuing to maintain the hub system in Montgomery County because we recognize the value that you all brought to getting things out to the community. And we're not going to go back to the old ways of doing things. We're going to use the hubs and the community connections to make this county stronger and to make sure you have a continuing role as we go through this. And we have a new Office of Grants Management. And so when the new office is set up, there's going to be a different way of managing our grants, hopefully a more simplified way. You should be getting funding earlier than you've gotten funding in the past. We're looking to make sure that we don't fund people after they've provided the services, that we begin providing funding at the beginning of the funding cycle. All the nonprofit service providers are getting 6% inflationary adjustments in their grants. And there are 46 programs that have been previously funded through grants that are actually moving to the county's base budget, which gives them a more secure source of funding and security in the knowledge that they're going to be there next year. And we're actually providing $3 million in grants to help provide nonprofit technical assistance, programming for children, youth, and families, and even money, $500,000 for business direct development grants. So we're going to continue to make sure we do these things. We've increased our funding, and we can continuing to run a rental assistance program. And there's $4 million in this budget for food. And if we need more, we'll put it in there. So again, thank you, thank you, thank you. I really do appreciate the partnership, and I appreciate the work, and I look forward to continuing our work together. So that's what I would like to say to you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, County Executive. So now I want to ask County Council President Gabe Albornoz to share a few words.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Kate, for organizing this. I'm so happy that we are doing this evening. And as you said so eloquently in your introduction, there really is no way that we could fully express our deepest appreciation for your tremendous work. My heart is full with the incredible inspiration that you and the volunteers and the staff and all of the incredible network of individuals and leaders within our faith community, the way that you step forward is truly heroic and is extraordinary and in many ways unprecedented in the history of the county. At the height of the pandemic, as we all will recall, at one point, more than 147,000 county residents filed for unemployment within a 1-month span. And we also know that countless more were concerned that they were going to be evicted from their homes. And we also know that the impact, especially on our vulnerable populations and our seniors, was extraordinary. The isolation that they felt and the isolation that all of us felt during that time was incredibly difficult. And each one of you, I know, probably did not get a lot of sleep, concerned about not just the wonderful individuals that make up your faith-based organizations, but our community and our country and frankly, our world. And I am a person of faith myself, I'm proud to say, and I leaned in on my faith in ways that I never have before these last 2 years. And it was that faith that got me through some incredibly difficult and dark times where I didn't feel like getting out of bed, and just feeling the weights and how overwhelming the sense of frustration and despair that at various moments I, and I'm sure everyone felt. It was my faith and my family that got together and really supported each other in a way that was truly extraordinary. And so it wasn't just the incredible food service delivery that literally helped save lives. It wasn't just the coordination of volunteer services in the community. It was the connection that you all provided to people. It was the hope that you instilled in your respective congregations that really helped warm people and warm their souls, not just their bodies, through nutrition. So I was also incredibly impressed by the interfaith efforts that I saw. So many countless examples of our Muslim community partnering with our Christian community, our Jewish community partnering with our Christian and Muslim community, all of our communities coming together in a way that was truly extraordinary, leveraging resources, sharing information, connecting families. If the congregations themselves were not in a position to be able to support them, letting them know about other county services available to them. You provided a bridge and a link that saved countless numbers of lives. And it's for that reason that I am actually extraordinarily optimistic about our future, because the interconnectivity that has strengthened our social safety net in a way that I haven't seen in my 23 years of working in public service in different forms and fashions gives me hope that I think we can truly say things like, we can end childhood hunger in Montgomery County. We can do it. We can say things like, we can support those residents among us, including our disability community and our seniors, and give them the quality of life that they so richly deserve. Because as the county executive said eloquently himself, the county government is in the best position oftentimes to provide direct services, but the county government will never be able to provide the services that our entire community needs, especially in a culturally appropriate manner. So the partnerships and alliances that we were able to forge through the pandemic do give me tremendous hope for our future. And so I was very appreciative of the county executive's budget, which, in addition to the items that he mentioned, also establishes a full-time food security office in Montgomery County to help better connect the services of our respective organizations and share data that all of us can benefit from and refer to so that we can better disseminate programs and services more strategically moving forward. As the county executive also said, we're not out of the woods. Although things have improved greatly, we must remain vigilant and not forget the lessons learned over these last 2 years. We also need to maintain our civil discourse. When the rest of the country feels like it's being torn apart because of the negative energy and a lot of the hatred that we're seeing, which is born out of ignorance and fear, it's our faith community in particular that can help lead the way and shine a light on giving us the hope that we need to get us on the other side of all of this and feel stronger together as a community because of it. So I come tonight with a heart full of love, with a heart full of admiration and respect for your work, and a heart committed to making sure that what has transpired these last 2 years will certainly never be forgotten, but that we build off of this foundation to further establish a Montgomery County that works for everyone and that we can all be proud of, and where we respect and truly see each other for who we are. So thank you so much, Kate, for organizing this wonderful event. I look forward to trying my best to thank each of you personally, and on behalf of all of my colleagues on the council, count on us as allies in our work together. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your words and for your time. We really appreciate you being here. I want to open up the floor to our faith leaders to share about their experiences, if they have stories to tell about this time and the work they've been doing, or maybe even the fear that they felt shutting down their houses of worship and trying to keep their congregations safe. I'm going to call on faith leaders that I see on camera first, just so I'm not catching anybody off guard. So Rabbi Abby Shorofsky of the JCRC, I do see you on camera, so I'm going to call on you first.
Thanks, Kate. No problem. So thank you, everyone. County Executive Alrich and Council, I'm going to mess it up, Council President Albornoz. Thank you for being here and for your words directed toward the faith community, and also just the acknowledgement of the depth and breadth of work that the faith community does. It's, we know it on the faith community side, and I think sometimes it's such a helpful thing to hear it and to know that others are seeing it. So thank you. It's greatly appreciated. I am here representing the Jewish Community Relations Council, as well as the Jews of Montgomery County and the Jewish community of Montgomery County. And as we know, no one faith community is a monolith. So there have been a wide range of experiences throughout the Jewish community over the course of this pandemic. And rather than try to sum it all up myself, I turned to my colleagues through the Washington Board of Rabbis and asked them for some stories. Now, it turns out Monday is not always the best day to do that, because many of my colleagues take that as a day off, but I did get some responses, and I would like to share just a few thoughts that came from my colleagues. And one of our colleagues who's building a more entrepreneurial community of young adults realized that during this time there was this great need for connection, especially among our young professionals. While we think a lot about those in our community who are very vulnerable, this community is a very intentional community of young professionals coming together at a point in time where they are newer in their careers, newer in adulthood, and trying to figure out what exactly is it that they need spiritually right now. And when that community became overwhelmed and needed more spiritual leaders, the community actually looked inward. And what happened was an amazing sense of people's ownership and dedication to the community, which is helping it to thrive. And that's something that we saw throughout our faith community, throughout the Jewish community, was when there was a time where our clergy couldn't do it all, the community stepped in to pick it up. And the beautiful thing that happened of phone trees and knocking on neighbors' doors and checking on people and what does it mean to be in a community truly flourished and had time to really just grow and become an amazing thing over the course of these 2 years. I'd like to share a line from the Mishnah, from a rabbinic teaching, and I'd like to actually give it in remembrance of a teacher that the Jewish community and really all of Montgomery County lost due to COVID. Avi West was a Jewish educator extraordinaire, part of the Jewish Federation of Greater Washington, and really just a lovely, lovely soul of a person. And he embodied the teaching, find yourself a teacher, acquire a friend, and judge people favorably. And I bring that because that's something that we all had to do during the pandemic. And the Jewish community, no matter where you are on the religious spectrum, whether you are ultra Orthodox or just Jewish and finding your way secularly, we all had to find teachers. We all had to find people to help us navigate this time. Some of that was beyond the faith community, and some of that was beyond our own faith communities and interfaith work, and some of it was more internal. Acquire a friend and judge people favorably. Another story that I would quickly like to share, it comes from a rabbi who has retired from her work and offered to tutor elementary students in Hebrew, and developed a relationship via Zoom, where she taught and he learned, and he taught her Zoom and she taught him Hebrew. And eventually she baked him a birthday cake. He was very worried about his birthday being on Passover and not having a good cake due to the pandemic. And she baked and shipped him a birthday cake, creating a truly amazing intergenerational experience. And stories like that are what keep people going at times like this. And then judge people favorably. We've really learned how to trust each other. We've learned how to rely on each other. And we've learned that in a time like this, we need to be able to give that benefit of the doubt. So I am grateful to have you all as partners. I'm grateful to the work that this county has done, and I am looking forward to continuing to move forward with all of you.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Abby. I'm going to ask Aman Shergil of Guru Gobind Singh Foundation to share next. I think you're still on mute, Aman.
Can you hear me now, Kate?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I will confess I'm not a faith leader. I'm a active volunteer in the community, and I stepped up to be of service to my community. So firstly, Kate, thank you so very much for your kind invitation for us to briefly share our journey in this space. So Guru Gobind Singh Foundation is a Sikh temple in Rockville, and we had the opportunity to step up during the height of the pandemic and answer the county's call to action. So we were very fortunate to keep our kitchen doors open when everyone else was going into lockdown. So sharing a meal and being of service to those in need is a core tenet of our faith. So naturally, it made sense for us to step up and serve. So although we faced many personal challenges, our commitment to serve those in need was never compromised in any way whatsoever. So the Sikh way of life is a way to consider the ability to serve as a blessing, a duty, and a form of devotion. And we are proud to say we have had over 400 volunteers from all faith backgrounds join us over the last 2 years. And for some, it was actually the first time they had ever entered a Sikh temple. This provided the added opportunity to build a shared understanding across faith traditions and coming together for a greater cause. And then so today, as volunteers, we have served over 350,000 freshly prepared vegetarian meals, hosted healthcare services, provided COVID-19 vaccinations, shared county resources, invited county educational speakers, formed positive partnerships with other nonprofits as well as other church groups, packed over £500,000 of rice and beans, which further reached over 10,000 families on a weekly basis at the height of the pandemic, attending hundreds of meetings via Zoom, and the list is endless, so I won't bore you guys any further. But we at Guru Gobind Singh Foundation still continue to serve over 500 Montgomery County families every Sunday with food and other wraparound services. So even the rain or the snow doesn't dampen our spirits. In addition to our weekly distribution, we also continue to support the Afghan refugee families placed in temporary housing with immediate needs such as clothes, toys, educational materials, pots, pans, baby milk, and more. We have so many beautiful stories to share alongside the blessings and prayers we receive from the families we are serving. And often I get asked what motivates me and how I do it with a smile, without pay. So I personally believe each one of us can help our community in a positive manner and lead by example. So it's been an honor to be a source of happiness for the families in need. Our small act of kindness during these challenging times means the world to them, and they feel our love and respect through the bags of non-perishables, meals, milk, and fresh produce they receive on a weekly basis. And lastly, but most importantly, once they're able to do so, they actually come back and help us pack bags of produce. So in their little way, they're actually giving back to those that are still in line waiting for the distribution. So all this is possible because of the dedication of our fearless volunteers. And I do see a couple of them on this call. So I would like to give a shout out to Harish and Nisha Kaur of NK and Real Estate. Also our leadership, Dr. Rajwant Singh, and then other volunteers, Satvinder Singh, Paramjit Singh, Gagan Singh, Harmeet Singh, Jiravar Singh, who's also our priest, but he stepped up and helped as and when we needed his support. Then there's Nandini, and obviously not to favor, but my son, Harvey Shergill, he was my right hand at the height of the pandemic. And once again, this was only possible because we had the support from the county, from people such as Netta, Patrick, Jose, Marla, and my good friend Melissa. So my hope is to be able to continue serving those in need in partnership with counties and others in this space. So it's an honor and a blessing to be here in this space with Kate, yourself, and other faith leaders. Thank you for the time.
Thank you so much, Aman, for sharing. Next, I want to ask Dr. Robert Shepard to share about his experiences.
Thanks, Kate, and good evening to all. I'm a first-time person that is engaged in your dialogue tonight, representing Reverend Barry Moultrie, who is our outreach coordinator for Montgomery County Baptist Church, where Dr. Brian Bellamy serves as senior pastor. Let me first say that Mount Calvary Baptist Church has been a strong leader in this county for so many years. In fact, this year we are celebrating our 120th anniversary, and our theme is a journey continuing to walk by faith. At the height of the pandemic, Mount Calvary was already deeply engaged in the community, especially in the Lincoln Park community, where tremendous need existed. But we found that through our efforts partnering, we could stretch a lot further in terms of the impact to the communities, surrounding communities, both in Rockville and Montgomery County. So in the food area, we've had a food pantry for many years, and through our food partnerships with Nourish Now, So What Else, Montgomery County Food Coalition, we're able to continuously provide meals for the county for those who are in desperate need. We also we are excited about this program, working with Montgomery County Police and Rockville Police, who comes to the church to help us box food that they carry with them in their cars so that the police officers, when they encounter people of needs, they have a distribution bag or a box right there with them. And that's a program that we're pretty excited about, and we think it's working very well. The other great thing about Mount Calvary is this user facility, Leon Grant Family Life Center. That center has become an outstanding facility for our collaborations with our COVID partners in testing, booster shots, as well as vaccinations. We've done that with Holy Cross Hospital, African American Health Program, Black Physicians Health Care Network here in the county. And through that effort, thousands have come through. I have seen, one day I went over just to park my car and watch to see how many people would go in to be vaccinated or boosted or tested. And I saw hundreds going in, and it warmed my heart. It absolutely warmed my heart to see that. Mount Calvary's had a long time wraparound program of food distribution through its SHARE program. Mount Calvary, every Tuesday and Thursday, through volunteers of the church, we bag the foods, and hundreds. One day I was there just to watch the cars that were out on North Horners Lane, and it was diverting traffic so much, and we didn't have police engagement until, I guess I'll say, divinely, a police came by and saw what was going on, and he became the person that began to direct the traffic and make sure that it was coordinated so that people would know that the line that extended down to the Lincoln Avenue, all the way up to Mount Calvary, that those cars would be parked because they were coming in to receive bags of food. We are excited about that program, and that program will continue as well every Tuesday and every Thursday. In the clothing drive, we had a major clothing drive during the course of the pandemic for those who needed coats, winter coats, and clothing for cold weather. We had a personal drive through our church, and we used the expression that we wanted our members to give new items, and it was amazing. The church members who gave new coats went out and purchased new coats to be delivered to those that were in need. Finally, I'll say on a personal basis, as a technical person, I knew that the technology was there where we could do much, much more besides go to church on Sunday. And so it was a joy to my heart to be able to teach my classes, which is a Saturday morning Bible study for men from 7 to 8:30. And we were doing good in the physical structure. We've been meeting for 36 years in the physical structure just to have at least 10 to 12 men coming out. Now we're up to 60 and 70 with men as far away as Truth of Consequences, New Mexico, Houston, Texas, Alabama, North Carolina, Florida, you name it. And so that's the case for our teaching of Bible studies midday for the elderly. We are touching so many of our elderly every Thursday from 11:30 to 1. And it's growing because we have taught the elderly how to use the Zoom platform. And the Zoom platform has been a technology that has extended families' capabilities to interact with family. And I'll close with this story here that one of my students who's in her late 80s said to me recently. She said, Dr. Shepherd, I just love Zoom. I love the Bible study, she said, but I love Zoom. She said, my sister in New York, we have not been able to get together over so many years. And so because of the time that you spent with us seniors teaching us how to use the Zoom platform, every week I have a Zoom meeting with my sister and say it's changed the whole dynamics of our family. Let me just say that the council executive early said something that I'm going to reiterate here. He said, we won't go back to ways of doing things like we did before. And how true that is. But I think on the flip side of that, we're going to have such a greater impact, Kate, on what it is this community is trying to do. And on behalf of Mount Calvary, on behalf of Reverend Moultrie, I'm delighted to present this little bit of what we're doing at Mount Calvary Baptist Church. And thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shepherd. And I'm glad somebody appreciates Zoom because I definitely don't every day. But I'm so glad you could share with us. So we are down to our last 15 minutes. So I'm going to ask folks to keep things as brief as you can. I know it's hard because you all have done way too much to contain to a short window of time, but if you can try to speak for 2 minutes or less, I would greatly appreciate it. Next, I want to ask Isabel Lee to speak. She is with the Chinese Bible Church of Maryland.
Well, thank you, everyone. It's very nice to meet you tonight. I'm a minister of global outreach and women's ministry at the Chinese Bible Church of Maryland. Our church has been always feel that we have the mission to go across the street and around the world. And so during the pandemic, at the very beginning of the pandemic, we're involved in distributing food, partnering with the ministry, and do it outside of Montgomery County because that was the first group of people needed help. And so we distribute food for 10 weeks to refugee community. And then the neat thing is, we can mobilize churches, our church people, and then also other churches as well. I want to highlight something. And then we mobilize the church to help families in 12 countries because, COVID doesn't just hit us in the US, it hit the world. And some of these families, adults and children, pretty much get locked down and couldn't go to school. So we provided members to teach them English, music, and just to give them something different from just being at home. And so to this day, we continue to serve this group of people. So we are very thankful to be, even though COVID restricted our travels, we were able to be in 12 countries. And then we're able to get masks, to distribute to masks, to nursing home, to different places for people who need it. And then one of the neat things, just last November, we partnered with a group to distribute 400 turkey meals to residents in Gaithersburg. And we did it in Gaithersburg, Lake Forest Mall, if you know where that is. And we did not know that many people will come out. So we ran out, after 400 turkey distributed, we still have cars wrapped around the mall to wait for that. The neat thing is we were able to mobilize 70 people from the youngest one to the oldest one from church and from different congregations. And what we want to do is not just to provide the resources, but also get our people to be a part of this community. I emailed the Gaithersburg Council and for them to come to visit us that morning. And we also see that parents, children, young people, teens want to be a part during this very difficult time in the lives of other people. And of course, since last August, we have a lot of Afghan fled Afghanistan to come here. And so by December, we've been helping several Afghan families. And not only several churches come together to provide household items and all this, I also reached out to the Gaithersburg, my neighborhood, because several women said, I need headscarves. And Chinese don't wear headscarves. So I have reached out to the Gaithersburg community. And right now in my basement, I have 180 scarves, and then many South Asian dresses for the Afghan women. So we're very thankful to be a part of the community of people even beyond Montgomery County and around the world to serve them in times of need. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Isabel. And next, I'm going to ask Ken Flemmer from the Seventh-day Adventist community to share about the work that he's been doing.
Good evening, everybody. I have told many people that between Montgomery County and Capital Area Food Bank, the Adventist Community Service Center has wanted for nothing. They have provided food. Capital Area Food Bank, when COVID first shut everything down, a lot of the small little tiny pantries closed up. They asked us if we would surge. We stepped up. We've been doing very consistently about 5.5 times the volume of food that we did pre-COVID. And all, like everyone's saying, all kinds of new partnerships and linkages. Some existed and you strengthened them. Some of them, Homes Not Borders, DC Diaper Bank, Tommy's Pantry, Linkages to Learning, to name just a couple at the top. And others, we've been providing food boxes to many of the Afghans. The peak was 72 families 1 week. It's tapering off rather rapidly, but what's left are the difficult ones because the families are large and there's not as many opportunities to find those 3-bedroom apartments. So I'm just very thankful to all the networks, all the volunteers, hundreds of them at times. The big, December, November holidays, trying to do extra baskets for them. And then the response to the Afghans has really took a lot of work. Took a lot of work. It's still so much work to do to outfit all those apartments and to backfill some of those that weren't as well served or have independently transferred. So I just want to thank the council and the executive part of the government for all they've done and all the partnerships that have been vital to enable us to do more. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Ken. Next, I'm going to ask Adila Sharif to share from the Islamic Center of Maryland. I'm also going to ask you all to raise your hands if you'd like to share. There are a number of folks that are off camera, so I just want to make sure to not miss you if you do want to share about your experiences.
Hi, my name is Adila. I'm with Islamic Center of Maryland, and we're in Gaithersburg. Our story is very similar to yours, so I'm not going to repeat some of the stuff that all of you have shared. I'm going to go a little bit personal in terms of sharing some fun stories along the way that were slightly different and very specific. So our journey was really one of faith. And I say it was of faith because when we started, we had no idea where the food would come from. We had not been a food pantry in the past. We had been helping a couple of families here and there. So when we started during the pandemic, we did not have some of those existing relationship established with Capital Area Food Bank or other food pantries. We really started because of people need the food. Let's pitch in, let's get community donations and kind of start from there. It was, if all of you remember, it was a time when food was being rationed. So when you would go to a store, there was a limit on the number of pasta sauce, on pasta, on rice, on the basic staples that we were trying to provide to the community that was reaching out to us. And when I say all the time, I don't count pounds of food. It was the volunteers. To me, I always look at the volunteers. Whenever I look at these service events, I'm looking at the people that stepped in at the start of the pandemic, when we had no idea what was going on, where I would go tell my volunteers, you are putting yourself at risk. I don't know how to protect you, but if you want to go serve, this is what we need. And we would go back again and again to different stores. Oh, I hit the Giant in Montgomery Village. I hit the Giant in Gaithersburg. And we would have a WhatsApp with, okay, they're out of pasta sauce. So-and-so is out of oil. And it was a fun journey, risky journey, but it was a fun journey of trying to put these things together. We did not know all the time. We did not have all the answers in terms of how we would do all of this stuff in terms of food. And then somebody said, well, let's put a video together of the stuff we do. We put a simple video together of the stuff we do, and it caught somebody's attention in Virginia, and they reached out to us. And this was May. At that point, we had been doing food drives for about 100 people, and we were very happy on how we could pull that together every time. And somebody reached out from Virginia saying, oh, we have a grant with USDA, and how would you feel about doing a produce and milk distribution to 1,000 people? I had no clue how to do that. And we're like, yeah, of course we can do that. And then that was one of those fun moments where so many volunteers came together to kind of say, let's serve. Let's serve, let's manage the cars, let's manage the traffic. We worked with the church next door to kind of use their parking lot. We reached out to District 6, the police department came in to help with the traffic, and we were able to do those 1,000 people. And then that kind of started our journey in terms of, okay, now we know what we're doing. That's when we reached out to we applied for our first grant with HIF, and thank you very much, Crystal, where some of those partnerships started to come in from a county perspective and grant perspective to kind of keep sustain some of the work that is still going on. Just like everybody shared, we've done the food distribution. We were part of the vaccine effort. We went and recruited people for getting the vaccines. We did bribe them with chicken and produce if they come get the shot. So we did that outreach as well, which was really fun. We've done it in every single weather, including freezing rain. But I think part of I guess the most important thing that I would like to share is it was life-changing for all of us that were able to serve during that time. But we also formed some of the best relationships, either with the people we serve, because some of the people that we've served have come back and become our volunteers. Now they're serving with us because they want to be on this side giving back. So it was truly a life-changing journey in terms of being able to serve and also make these partnerships. A lot of people are COVID friends now. We very proudly say we are COVID friends. We served during that time. And thank you so much to everybody that was part of this journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. So if you all are watching the time, you probably have noticed that we are going to go over. So if people do have to leave, we completely understand, but we want to hear a few more folks if possible. Lucia, I know that you have to head out in a few minutes. So if you want to go ahead and share.
Thank you, Kay. Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to highlight real quick the work from Reverend Barry Moultrie from Montgomery Baptist Church in Rockville, as well as the work from Reverend Kendra Smith from Kingdom Fellowship in Silver Spring as heroes to be recognized. Both communities were crucial during our efforts to bring vaccines. And let me just take a step back. My name is Lucia Segarra from Holy Cross Health, the Faith Community Nurse Program, and we've been serving, trying to reach the community in vaccination clinics for underserved communities. And we have been hosting regular vaccination clinics at both faith communities. And I just wanted to really say thank you to both communities because Reverend Moultrie hosted multiple community events, for example, the Fall Festival, backpack distribution, and he invited our team to administer vaccines. We even had the pleasure of having one of his parishioners, Dr. Graham, who was named Scientist of the Year from Time Magazine, and he worked on developing the Moderna vaccine. And it was a delight to see him volunteer to provide information about the COVID vaccine at Mount Calvary. Also, the connections and innovative approaches from Reverend Kendra with Kingdom Fellowship allow our team to provide and continue providing vaccinations at multiple apartment buildings with low vaccination rates in East County. And even during the rainy days, we continued our mission. So we would have not been able to reach so many in these communities without the support of these two faith communities. And I do want to thank, I think I see Southern Veterinary Baptist Church in the call too. We also have partnership with Zion North, National Wesleyan, Christ the King, Mount Jezreel Baptist Church, International Bethel Church, Mill Creek Parish, Alpha and Omega, Church of the Pentecost, Southern Bethany Baptist Church, Zion Church in Greenbelt, and we currently are continuing our work also with St. Matthew's Presbyterian Church. And Kate,
I think you accidentally muted yourself right as you thanked me, but.
No, I think that, to continue having this type of conversations is very helpful. And thanks again, everybody.
Thank you so much, Lucia. All right, so Reverend Faustin, I'm going to have you share next because I.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be with you. Good evening, Kate. And I want to thank all the officials for putting this together. I'm not going to be long, but I want to thank Montgomery County for providing help to the faith community. Personally, my parishioners, they benefited from what you have done. And one of the most important things for me is that everybody around me in my pulpit, they are vaccinated, fully vaccinated, because you provided me with information. I want to thank my friend, Rodrigue Vital, who is the liaison for the Caribbean community and the Asian community, which is part of the Caribbean. My church is positioned to help them because we have found so many people coming from the border of Mexico with the United States, particularly with Texas. They reach our shore here and we step in. We are helping 15 of them right now. So I want to be able to continue to let them know that I can collaborate with you and the Caribbean liaison to continue to find solutions for people who are suffering, for people who are in need. Therefore, I want to thank you for making this possible today for us in the faith community to learn what Montgomery County is doing and what we are doing to alleviate the pain of the people in need. Thank you very much. And I hope that Wendy will keep me posted to be part of this great gathering and to learn more and to help more. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reverend. Sultan Chowdhury, would you mind sharing with us what your organization has been doing?
Hi, greetings to all, Kate and the leadership for holding this. It's a wonderful story. I think we share the similar types of efforts throughout the county over the last 2 years. MCMF, Montgomery County Muslim Foundation, I'm talking on behalf, and the President Sabar Rashid, she could not join. We have quadrupled or multiplied our capacities during this. Starting from March 2020, we served 500,000 pounds, 500,000 pounds of food, 1,100 gift baskets during Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Ramadan, and have been serving 500 families each month through the pandemic, including on freezing days, me, my wife, and many other people, including from civic institutions like Rotary Club, joined us to help us serve our communities. And that's a great thing. And of course, we serve 6,000 hot meals, 11,000 pounds of fresh meat to 2,300 families. Because of the Afghan refugees, we are providing between 50 to 100 meals every week in cooperation with other relief resettlement agencies. We continue to provide hot meals to interfaith center for women, one full year, 28 days in a year. And during the pandemic, we established, because of George situation in the Midwest, African American Equity Fund, and that's doing. We're very happy about it. We have created a program for trade school training, job ready type of trades training, and there are already, I think, 5 graduates and landing doing good jobs, and we are looking forward to the next one. During the whole pandemic, we learned technology has been great. Zoom and Facebook both initially stopped praying on Jummah or Friday prayers. By March, April, which is Zoom praying services from different Islamic centers. So that was a great thing for the community. When we are home stuck, we could have at least joined the community in prayers. Well, also in ICCP, Islamic Community Center, Potomac, we did food distribution, and we thought there'll not be any client in Potomac area, but we ran out of food. Of course, ran vaccine clinics and so on, but it's wonderful, wonderful experience. Hope we'll bank on the experience we learned and be prepared. Hopefully it doesn't happen again, but for any such disaster like that. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you so much for sharing. So quick reminder to folks to please raise your hand if you do want to speak. I know some of you are off camera. And yes, John Ross of Nourishing Bethesda, we would definitely appreciate to hear from you and all the work you've been doing.
Thanks, Kate. Just so delighted you put this together. I'm John Ross, and I'm a faith leader at St. John's Norwood Episcopal Church in Bethesda. During the pandemic, we started a food pantry called Nourishing Bethesda. And too many people to thank, but I do want to call out Mark and Gabe and the county council for their just terrific support. We just couldn't have done it in so many ways without your support. Thank you for that. 19th century Midwesterners had a saying for very, very bad weather. They used to say, when it was just raining cats and dogs, there's nothing out today but crows and Methodist preachers. And I felt that that comment came back to and popped into my head on a recent January afternoon when Nourishing Bethesda, as every week we do, or out in the parking lot of the Bethesda Chevy Chase Rescue Squad on Friday afternoons with a small mountain of 6 tons of food. We're serving about 500 families, 1,800 people. Long line of cars. It was 38 degrees. We thought, well, maybe we're going to be okay. The wind picked up, and then the heavens opened up. And it wasn't just a little, it was a deluge. And I think a lot of people in this room have been there trying to put tarps over the food. Our tents, just suddenly we realized we're not up to the task. We rigged extra tarps. We anchored the tent legs with pallets and 5-gallon buckets of water and bungee cords. I mean, it was biblical. The collected water bowed the tent coverings down, so they were like huge udders filled with milk. We deployed volunteers to push the water out in great cascades with broom handles. And you know what? That entire time, not a single one of our volunteers, old or young, complained. Not a single volunteer went home early. It was freezing. It was wet. At one point, in the worst part of the pounding rain, someone turned up the radio we have, turned to a 50s station, and everyone started dancing. Dancing while putting food in the cars, dancing to restock produce, water shooting off their coats. I saw the grins of our recipients in their cars. It was a magic moment for me to watch that, a moment of faith and dedication and commitment. Our recipients, of course, know that we're all volunteers, that we're doing this because we want to, that we're doing this for them. As much as we're out there to deliver calories and sustenance, we're there to deliver community, to be there for our neighbors going through difficult times, to battle hopelessness, to give our neighbors faith. My gloves, I found, were still wet a week later when we were again back at it. But maybe they weren't as wet as that itinerant preacher on horseback in the 19th century might have felt. But still, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All right, next we're going to hear from Denise Sadler. And again, a reminder to raise your hand if you want to share your story and your experience before we close.
Good evening. I'm Denise Sadler, and beside me is my husband, Walter Sadler. He's the pastor of Southern Bethany Baptist Church. And we're just grateful that we were able to be an impact during the pandemic, the height of the pandemic. We were able to offer a weekly food giveaway. We had always had a quarterly food giveaway, but when we saw the need for a weekly food giveaway, we were able to do that. We've served over 26,789 families during the last 2 years. Each Saturday, our clientele was like 300 families, and we were grateful that we were able to offer them chef-stable food as well as fresh produce every week. We also had a COVID-19 vaccination clinic that we were able to offer to the community. The last 2 years, we partnership with Toys for Tots, and we were able to serve 100 families in the immediate Burtonsville community. And looking at the pictures tonight, it just made me feel so good that we were able to connect with all the other faith-based institutions and organizations to have such an impact on those that were in need. And I'm just excited. We kept our doors open the whole time during the pandemic. Each week we were there packing food. We had volunteers that came. I was able to connect with the Montgomery County volunteer base to have weekly volunteers there every week to help us pack food. Like someone else has said, we met friends that now they're going to be our lifetime friends that we were able to connect with. And it's just been a joy. It's been really nice being able to help serve. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you so much, Denise. So thank you all so much for being here. A last chance to raise your hand or send me a message if you would like to say something. But we really, Nisha, go ahead. That was quick.
Hello, everyone. This is Nisha Kaur with NK Real Estate Group. And I just wanted to thank every single person that was involved in leadership or volunteers. I'm with the Guru Gobind Singh Ji Foundation with Aman Shergill. And when I met Aman and her vision, I was surprised that I was like, I don't think it will come true based on the leadership that's around you. But she made it happen. She got us involved. And, like someone had earlier said, it's like a family now. With love, we're building this relationship, and the true meaning of seva is service, is just helping each other, and that's our true happiness. Thank you for putting this presentation together. People like us, gets an inspiration to do a little bit more, maybe not as much as everyone else out there, but it's actually a motivation and a great inspiration for us to contribute even more. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And truly, there is no way that we can thank you all for the work that you've done in supporting your community and truly loving your neighbor. We really appreciate all that you've done to keep your neighbors safe outside of your faith tradition, within your faith tradition. We greatly appreciate it. I'm going to close this event by sharing the slideshow again, if you would like to stay and watch the slideshow. But have a great evening and stay in touch with us. We want to find more ways to thank you all for your work and find ways to continue to support your efforts within Montgomery County. Give me 1 minute while I figure out how to share my screen.